that, Parliament resumes sittings today amid acrimony over East Africa Legislative Assembly EALA membership election. NASA and Jubilee have refused to cede ground in their quest to have more than their share at the regional legislators. In the last term, NASA had 4 members in EALA while Jubilee had 5, but Jubilee now says they are entitled to 6 members given their current numbers in Parliament. NASA is having none of it. Let's now speak to our parliamentary reporter, our senior parliamentary reporter, Patrick Amimo. But before that, let's just take a look at what Majority Leader of the National Assembly, Aden Duale, said with regard to this.
Jubilee, ODM and Wiper are the only parliamentary parties who can nominate individuals to compete for the 9 slots in the East African Legislative Assembly. And in this arithmetic that we have done, based on the party strength, Jubilee will have 6 slots, ODM will have 2 slots, and Wiper will have 1 slot.
Together with affiliates, qualify. Affiliates have added even parties which Jubilee claims to be their affiliates, and they don't even have a registered document. They qualify to have 5.38 members. NASA qualifies to have 3.61 members. Now, if you round off the figures, because you can't have point of a person, Jubilee will have 5, NASA will have 4.
Well, some views there from both the majority and minority leaders at the National Assembly. Let's now speak to our senior parliamentary reporter, Patrick Amimo, now joining us live from our city centre studio before he heads out to Parliament. A very good morning to you, Patrick. Definitely a full tray for members of Parliament as they resume today, but the issue of EALA nominations continues to be a big thorn. How do we expect this to pan out today at the National Assembly?
Thank you, Akisa. This parliament, as it were, they had gone for a long recess, 25 days, and they were expected to resume on November 7th to continue with the parliamentary calendar. But then the House sittings could not proceed, and that's when we saw on November 7th they had to adjourn for another 3 weeks until today when they are resuming. But the House is resuming at the time when only the opposition side has given a list of their membership. Only the minority leader and in the National Assembly and minority leader in the Senate. The House is yet to constitute the various committees that will ensure the smooth running of operations in Parliament, because now with the new constitution, most of the work, almost 70% of the work is done by committees. And today, when the House resumes, the motion that has been put on place by one MP, John Melly, will be to do with the designating special lanes for emergency vehicles, especially like fire engines, police cars and ambulances. But when it comes to matters EALA, surely Kenya has delayed the entire process because the EALA did, that parliament came to an end in June 30th, and it was expected that Kenya would submit its list of 9 members to that particular regional parliament. But Kenya then dilly-dallied. That time there was a pull and push between Jubilee and CORD. By that time, Jubilee had was supposed to elect to nominate 5 members to EALA, with CORD supposed to nominate 4. But then when the list came before the committee that was trying to vet the nominees, then they could not agree after the Jubilee side insisted that CORD was to submit a list of 15, but CORD then maintained that they had just to submit the list of 5, which was to go as it were. So we saw that particular process. The pull and push made sure that the 11th Parliament ended its term before Kenya could elect its members to the East African Parliament. And that process meant that that house, the regional parliament, cannot sit because of the intricacies, the pull and push factors that are happening in Kenya, which is affecting that regional parliament. We saw, apart from the other country that is yet to submit its members to that parliament, is South Sudan, and we know with South Sudan what is happening. But for the Kenyan situation now, with the convention, with the beginning of the 12th parliament, now the numbers have changed, and that's why we see Jubilee now is insisting that they want to provide a list of 6, and NASA says they want to go by the previous numbers that did obtain in the 11th Parliament. But then the the strength of that parliament, regional parliament, depends on the party strength in the National Assembly. I mean, in Parliament. And this time round, with the 12th Parliament, then those are the numbers that will obtain when it comes to negotiating those seats in the regional Parliament. But it is as it is today. That matter might not be tackled because the Committee on Selection is yet to be established. That motion to that effect will be put there to tomorrow to ensure that we have a membership on the Committee of Selections. It's after the Committee of Selections that after it's in place, then they are the ones who will nominate members to serve in the various committees. The National Assembly has at least 28 committees, so they'll nominate people to serve, members that will be serving in various committees in order to ensure that those who have been applied for EALA are vetted. We know very well Jubilee side attracted almost 110 applicants from the 6 slots that Jubilee is eyeing. We saw the opposition NASA has at least 55 applicants, and the independents also had we had about 12 members as independents. There are 9 positions that we are looking for, but they have attracted a lot of interest from various political parties. But then that matter will only come to fruition once the Committee on Selection has been put in place, and now it nominates various members to the various committees to be able to vet the various nominees to the East African Parliament. Akisa?
So then if they're not likely to handle the EALA issue today, Patrick, what do we expect them to tackle today, being the first day they resume sittings?
Given that they've just come from recess, and we see they're still struggling, the opposition NASA is yet to give them a list of the members that will be serving in various committees. As I did indicate, they've only given 2 names. That is the minority leader in the National Assembly and minority leader in the Senate. So those are the only 2 people that are working with the Jubilee side. But though the Jubilee side says it's ready to move with it, to constitute the committees, but then it is in a bit of a dilemma because they cannot move without the input of their counterparts in various committees. We know that there are some certain committees, like especially those oversight committees, like the Public Accounts Committee, the Public Investments Committee. These are committees that need to be chaired by the opposition. And if the opposition has not really given the names of their membership to those committees, then we'll see the House business at least delay a bit. Though we have at least, there was the Speaker of the National Assembly, Justin Muturi, did indicate that they'll not be held at ransom by the opposition if they dilly-dally in submitting the list of membership to various committees. So what we heard from the opposition was that they might be boycotting some of these sessions of committees when they are not discussing issues of national importance. And already they've indicated when the list for cabinet secretaries will be coming before them and the PSS for appointment, then they have advised their members they'll be de-whipped from participating in the vetting process. So it appears if that grandstanding still obtains, then it might end up to be the vetting process might be a Jubilee alone affair, because even in the National Assembly and the Senate, we've seen those members of Parliament who are elected as independents. Majority have decided to go to the government side and or Jubilee side, so they are voting with Jubilee, and NASA has just decided not to participate in the entire process. So if they continue chest thumping and taking very, very radical party positions, then I think by December, before they go on recess by Jamhuri Day, nothing much will be transacted in the House, because they only have like 2 weeks to deliberate on these very, very critical issues before they go for a long recess and resume for the second session in mid-February. Akisa.
Patrick Amimo there, senior parliamentary reporter, with an update on what kind of interim members of parliament are facing when they resume today from a recess, and of course some of their grandstanding that he says might affect the House business. Let's now cross over to Sarova Panafri.